So this is kind of a funny question, but why do lenders care so much about personal liquidity and debt to income ratios?
Well, have we gotten deals done where there's barely any post-close liquidity? Absolutely. But in this climate, I don't think it's going to happen that often. Um, some banks are like, well, we're building in 500 grand or 300,000 in working capital, so they say that they see that and they're like, that makes sense. Or when they're buying the business, there's AR that's coming in and it will come to the new owner. But look, if you're putting your last penny into a deal and something goes wrong, and it makes sense to have post-close liquidity. So banks want that. The stronger you are, the easier it is to get the deal done, right? The stronger everything makes sense, you're going to get deals done. And then on a business acquisition, if the seller's taking a salary and you're now going to become the general manager like the seller was, and you're taking that salary, you can use that in your global cash flow or your DTI. So if today your DTI is not that great, can you go and buy a business that has good seller salary and use that for your kind of global cash flow or your debt to income, whatever you want to call it? Absolutely. But you got to make sure it's there, because it's not. Banks don't like to see that you have high debt to income, right? Bottom line. So we help people sometimes that don't have a job. Maybe they got laid off in the tech industry. And the biggest thing is make sure you're buying a business where there's a salary that you can take that will cover all your expenses and then some, because then we can make it happen. So it makes sense, right? So does the story make sense? Do all the pieces make sense to a bank? Then they'll usually do the deal. If the story doesn't make sense and you've got a bunch of other projects going and you've got a lot of debt and some of your other businesses might not be cash flowing, they're going to scrutinize that more and more. So most of it makes sense. Sometimes I argue with banks because they don't use, in my opinion, some things that like for example, it's easier to get a startup franchise loan, which is all projection based, than it is to buy a franchise resale that has declining revenue. Even though it has revenue, and there's a story why, we're having more trouble on that loan than it would be on a deal that this person has no experience, is starting from scratch. That's easy. But because you're buying a business with declining revenue and it's not stabilized, that's more of a risk in the eye of the bank, even though it's already doing $170,000 top line revenue. So to me, I'm like, well, there's a story. But so those types of deals are very hard to finance. I'm still confident I'm going to get that one done, but we run into those types of issues, and you have to have a lot of compensating factors to overcome underwriters, because if they see declining revenue, they hate that.